any worry going on in the WNBA executive offices, if there is no worry, oh, people aren't going to turn off, oh, people are still going to show up, if that was the thought that they were having up there in WNBA La La Land, well, now might be the time to hit the panic button. 48 hours after news hits that Caitlin Clark is injured and she'll be missing 2 weeks, the market has responded, and the market has told the WNBA.
It's about to happen. The WNBA teams that move their games, this is about to be catastrophic for them.
The greatest nightmare for the WNBA has just struck. The consequences of Caitlin Clark's quad injury are already disastrous. Teams who rescheduled games to larger venues in anticipation of her arrival may soon have to deal with thousands of empty seats. Some fans are boycotting the league as a whole, while others are canceling plans and removing their tickets. What are your thoughts? While Clark is hurt, should fans boycott the WNBA, or is it going too far in showing loyalty?
I don't know when it happened. I know afterwards, we got a message that she had something going on with her leg, and they were getting an MRI, and then we got the alert yesterday.
Was it after the Liberty game on Saturday?
Is that her last game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Steph, you had a chance to try out a lot of rotation.
For the WNBA, the timing couldn't be worse. And to be honest, they caused this themselves. The athlete who saved their TV ratings and putts in seats by herself, Caitlin Clark, is currently sidelined due to a quad issue. And the league, which has been minimizing her influence for months, is about to experience firsthand what life is like without its biggest attraction.
On her, but we don't want this. What am I talking about? Indiana Fever ticket prices to games over the next 2 weeks have dropped 42% since Caitlin Clark's injury announcement, an average ticket price of $137.
Let's examine what is truly taking place here. Clark will be reassessed in 2 weeks, according to Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White. However, anyone who has dealt with quad injuries understands that this timeline is optimistic at best. My money is on the longer end of the range, which is between 2 and 6 weeks. This isn't a little adjustment. This injury is real and needs the right amount of time to heal. This is where things become fascinating, though. Several teams and the WNBA made significant financial investments, relying on Clark's presence. The Washington Mystics game against Indiana was rescheduled to a Baltimore facility with 15,000 seats. The game was moved to the United Center by the Chicago Sky. The American Airlines Center, where the Mavericks play, is now the location for Dallas game. These are serious choices. We're talking about marketing campaigns, extra staffing, venue leasing fees, and security, all centered around the star power of a single player.
Yeah, I don't know how things work in pretend basketball. I don't know the history of transparency when it comes to timelines for injury returns in the WNBA. But I do know in the NBA, teams are rarely transparent with injuries. When the Pelicans say Zion Williamson will be reevaluated in 2 weeks, that really means
these same teams are currently facing the possibility of their most embarrassing attendance records in years. Furthermore, the fans' intentions are not subtle. People are posting on social media that they are selling their tickets, calling off plans, or just not going to games until Clark gets back. In a post, a fan mentioned selling his Fever Mystics tickets because they didn't want to drive from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore without Clark playing. Another stated that in order to prevent the league from receiving their live viewership figures, they would only watch Fever games on replay. These are not one-off events. A fan base that believes the league has disregarded their favorite player has responded in concert with this action. And let's face the truth about what's causing this rage. It's more than just Clark's injuries. It concerns the way the WNBA has treated her during her whole playing career. Since the beginning, there's been a strange conflict between the league's desire to capitalize on her fame and lessen her influence. Players and media representatives were always discussing how the spotlight should be shared and how other players should also be acknowledged. You can't have it both ways, which is the issue with that strategy. It is impossible to base your marketing plan around someone and then be shocked when their disappearance leaves a huge gap. When Clark played, the WNBA's television ratings reached all-time highs. Suddenly, Games that typically drew 200,000 spectators were reaching over 1 million. Arenas that had trouble selling 5,000 tickets were selling out arenas with 20,000 seats. However, rather than accepting this fact, the league frequently appeared uneasy about Clark's control over the story. Instead of recognizing that one individual was primarily responsible for the league's rise, there was a persistent push to make everything about it. They will now have to face the harsh reality of their attendance and television ratings without her. Concerning questions are also raised by the damage itself. Many folks are asking if Clark was hurried back too soon after dealing with quad concerns during the preseason. In a league where physical play has been fierce and the season is already shortened, safeguarding your most valuable asset ought to have been your first concern. Rather, we now have a scenario where the player with the highest revenue may be sidelined for a sizable portion of the season. This is a recipe for disaster from a business standpoint. At last, the WNBA gained traction. Deals on television were becoming better. The mainstream media was genuinely taking notice, and sponsorship interest was at an all-time high. Clark's widespread popularity and capacity to attract casual viewers who might not otherwise follow women's basketball served as the foundation for all of that. Those casual fans aren't particularly devoted to any particular player or team. Even though the basketball game between Washington and Chicago is good, they won't watch it. One particular player sparked their interest in the WNBA, and when that player leaves, their enthusiasm wanes. This isn't meant as a disservice to the league's other gifted players. This is just the way that star power functions in professional sports. The attendance situation will be especially harsh. Moving a game from an arena with 7,000 seats to one with 20,000 seats is a huge gamble that demand will support the move. The goal of these teams' actions was not to break even. They anticipated high ticket prices and sellouts. They are now considering the prospect of performing in front of stadia that are just partially occupied. The optics alone will be disastrous, especially when you consider all the extra expenses that come with the venue changes. The league's true appeal without Clark is made abundantly evident by television cameras that capture thousands of vacant seats in arenas that were meant to be full. Sponsors and television executives take notice of this type of picture, and it may have an effect on upcoming agreements and collaborations. The fact that this is completely self-inflicted only adds to the league's frustration. The WNBA had a fantastic chance to capitalize on Clark's appeal while simultaneously advancing other players. Rather, they frequently gave the impression that her success was a burden rather than a strength. There was a strange hesitancy to accept everything she had to offer. The inevitable outcome of that strategy is the current fan response. Don't be shocked if someone decides to focus on someone else after you spend months telling them that their favorite player isn't that great. The WNBA is going to have to learn the hard way that loyalty is reciprocal when a player is injured. Some will contend that it is excessive to boycott games while Clark is injured. They will argue that supporters should still back the league and other athletes, but that is completely missing the point. These fans did not turn into WNBA fans. They became WNBA fans who also happened to be Caitlin Clark fans. There's a significant distinction there. There was an opportunity for the league to turn those Clark-specific fans into more general WNBA fans. However, that necessitates genuinely attempting to achieve that conversion. Rather, there seems to be a common belief that once viewers began to watch, they would inevitably start to enjoy everything else as well. Fandom isn't like that, especially when it comes to casual sports fans. The financial ramifications go beyond television ratings and ticket sales. Sales of merchandise will probably suffer. It's harder to activate a sponsorship when your biggest draw isn't playing. When there are no more Clark storylines to follow, media coverage will inevitably decline. Every facet of the league's business strategy is impacted. The worst part is yet to come. This was preventable. This whole problem might have been avoided with proper load management, improved injury prevention, protocols, and perhaps not hurrying a player back from a prior quad issue. However, judgments that put short-term money ahead of long-term player health may have resulted from the urge to profit on Clark's popularity. The fact that this is taking place at a critical juncture in the league's development makes the timing even more cruel. The WNBA was at last becoming popular, but that popularity needs to be sustained. If your biggest star misses a lot of time, you can't get casual viewers. There's no assurance that you'll get those viewers back, they'll just find something else to watch. It will be interesting to see how the league handles this. Do they accept the fact that Clark has a meaningful influence on their company, or do they maintain the myth that no single player is responsible for the WNBA's success? It will be challenging to sustain that argument given the attendance and broadcast viewership figures over the coming weeks. Ironically, the WNBA spent a lot of time attempting to demonstrate that Clark was not necessary for their success. And now they will have the opportunity to demonstrate their ability to attract people without her, which is exactly what they requested. The issue is that every early indication points to a failure in this venture. Nor is the boycott movement solely focused on Clark's injuries. The issue is that supporters believe the league has treated the player who introduced them to the team disrespectfully. The ideal storm we are currently witnessing is created when you mix that underlying hatred with the practical reality that many fans only watch for one particular player. Teams that place large bets on Clark's ability to draw are going to pay for that risk. Her presence was assumed by the moved games, higher marketing budget, and higher expectations. Without her, they turn into costly lessons on the dangers of focusing your entire approach on a single player, particularly if you haven't done enough to develop contingency plans. A crash education in star economics is about to be given to the WNBA. Without their main attraction, they will observe exactly how their media coverage, attendance, and television ratings look. And those figures won't be beautiful, judging by the fan response we're already witnessing. The tension that has existed in women's basketball since Clark joined the league is aptly captured by this circumstance. The injury is going to resolve the long-running issue between individual star power and group growth in the most conclusive manner conceivable. The statistics are unmistakable, and they will soon reveal who genuinely generates interest in the WNBA. Biting the hand that feeds you is a hard lesson that the WNBA is going to learn. The empty arenas and declining viewership will make it obvious who is most important to their financial success. How do you feel about the entire situation? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. For more straightforward sports coverage, hit the like button and subscribe.